Welcome to the creative extreme, where imagination without limitation is the only expectation.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Abbott and the Artista. I'm Christopher Ickpo, aka the Artista with,
Stephon Thomas, aka the Abbott.
and it's been a while. We took a hiatus, holiday hiatus slash holiday hiatus, multiple
Yeah.
holiday hiatus, but we're back. That's the important thing. Um, yeah, everybody, make sure you go to all of our social media, the Creative Extreme. You can just search us on Instagram, TikTok. We got the YouTube channel, which these videos go up on. Facebook, like, subscribe, follow, comment, all that good stuff. But I guess, well, how are the holidays, man? Real quick, how are your holidays? How was everything?
Holidays were fantastic. Did a little bit of traveling, hung out with the family, of course. Did Went to see the in-laws, went out to the West Coast for a little bit. So yeah, it was really nice, really nice. How was yours?
Yeah, it was good, man. Me, the wife and kids, just a lot of chill time, a lot of food,
I'm good.
a lot of food. But the scale was kind to me. You know what I'm saying? I was actually down after the eating and everything, and then I was able to quickly turn around, get myself back in action. But yeah, man, a lot of games, a lot of laughs, a lot of good
Mhm.
times. So, you know, it
That's
was
what I
it was
like to
fun.
hear.
For the
That's what I
first
like to
time
hear.
ever, for the first time ever, Marissa and I went to see a movie on Christmas night. Christmas night releases
Oh,
are a
snap.
thing. And you know
Okay.
me, you know my love for vampire mythology and
Oh,
vampire
this night.
lore and
Oh, you
vampire
saw that joint?
projects. And so we went to go see Nosferatu Christmas night. I didn't think it was going to be a major thing, but Nosferatu, it became a cultural event, man. Theater was packed.
Nice.
People were there. People were invested, and so we did that too for the very first
I,
time. Now
I
that we
don't,
have
I don't.
kids old enough to babysit, like you
Ah,
get the
right.
little ones
Yeah.
down, and then the older
Mm-hmm.
ones kind of
Yep.
just hold down the fort while you're gone for a couple
That's
hours.
a great feeling, man. I still remember the first day we was like, wait a minute. I think we can leave them at home now. It was life changing. It was
Yeah,
absolutely life changing.
yeah. So we got two older
Yeah.
ones now who can hold it down and
Yeah.
partner up if anything, if anything needs to be sorted out. But we put the little ones to bed first, so it wasn't too
Yeah.
much of a burden or a hassle for them. And
Oh,
then
I
we went
do
for it.
do the people do our fans do they know like your affinity for vampires and the lore and the stories?
I don't know, man.
I
If
mean, we don't have
anybody
to
has
get into
gone
it right
to
now.
if
Right?
anybody's gone to the Christopher Isaac Society, if you
Yeah.
want to, you can just
Mhm.
Google that. My other website will pop up. If they've gone there and they've looked, there's a slew of vampire stories
Yeah.
there, so they'll know. But for
Yeah.
everybody else, they might not know. Yeah, man. Funny thing is too, when I was growing up, I hated horror stuff and vampire stuff.
Mhm.
Like I remember being in a grocery store, and this was back, was it early '90s? When different time when we would go with my mom, me, my mom, my brother, and or my sister, and my mom would be like, "You can either come with me, or you can go to the toy aisle, or you can go to the book aisle, and I'll come get you when I'm done. What do you want to do?" And so this particular store didn't really have a toy section. So we're
Mhm.
like, oh, we'll go buy the books and the magazines. So we left while she went to go do her thing. You don't do that nowadays. You don't tell your kids just to go run out to
Yeah.
another section of a store, just hang out, and I'll come get you when I'm done. Um, so we went there, and I still remember picking up Interview with a Vampire.
Mm.
It was when I had just learned about it. I don't know how long it had been out at that point. I know Anne Rice had been writing the stories, or she came up. I think she first came up with the stories in the '70s, in the late '70s. But this was the first time I had seen the actual novel. I remember picking it up and flipping through it, and just like being like nervous because I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to read something that's going to scare me and da 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 whatever, right? And then I don't know if it was like a People magazine or an Us magazine or something, and it had an article about it and how Oprah left the movie. She left the theater like 10 minutes into the movie because she said there was too much blood. But like her and Tom Cruise were supposed to be best friends, but people were like, "Oh my God, Oprah walked out on Tom's movie" or whatever. So I was like, "Yo, this is crazy. What is this?" Right? Everything. But when I got a little bit older and the stuff didn't scare me anymore, then I started getting an affinity for it, and then I started really getting into it. So then I saw
Mm.
that, and then I saw Bram
Hmm.
Stoker's Dracula, which is arguably, I think, maybe between that and Predator, my favorite movie of all time. And then,
Mm.
obviously
Okay.
Blade is going to be a huge thing. I love
Sure.
Blade.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
vampire series from Dusk Till Dawn, Nosferatu,
Mm.
all of them, man. Everything from John Carpenter's stuff to,
Yeah.
you know, the lineage of Dracula is kind of like the horror James Bond. You
Hmm.
know, you got
Hmm.
Frank Langella played, Christopher Lee played Dracula. Of course, you got Gary Oldman. Now we got what's his name, Billy Skarsgård, man, who killed it in
I
Nosferatu.
was about to ask, like,
Yeah,
I know we're not a movie review pod, but
yeah, yeah.
what were your general feelings on it? Did you enjoy it? Like,
I
for the
did.
most
I mean, well,
part?
I enjoy it just because I love the genre, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love those kind of movies. To not get too deep into a review or
Right.
like a breakdown of it. Um, I feel like the big takeaways were, Skarsgård's performance and Lily Rose Depp's performance. I
Hmm.
mean, man,
Yeah. Really?
forget about it. So
As
like
in
their
Johnny Depp's
performances.
daughter?
What's that?
Did you say Lily Rose Depp as in John?
Yeah,
Is that
Johnny Depp's
Johnny Depp?
daughter. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right.
She's a bad one, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she threw down. She did the damn thing. So it
Yeah.
was their performances, I think, carried the film
Mm.
because again, not to get too deep into it, there are other critiques or other things that I have of the film,
Yeah.
but to speak positively, inject some positivity out there for the genre. I wanted to do big numbers because
Yeah.
we got a vampire joint.
Oh yeah, we got it, man. I was about to say, I was like, we
So we
got.
want that in theaters in 2025 or
Yeah.
2026.
Come on now. Yeah.
So I wanted to do big numbers, and it's doing pretty well so far from what I saw with Screen Dollars
Yeah.
and some of the other
Yeah.
websites I
I'm
researched
telling you,
their
I,
numbers
th-
at.
I think,
But
yeah.
Skarsgård and Depp, boy, whew, man, so they did it.
That saying that about, like, the being, I don't know if you were surprised by depth, or you were just like, but I saw over the holiday Wicked,
Okay,
and I was surprised at, I mean, I knew Cynthia Erivo was
true.
a
Yeah,
tour de force.
yeah,
I had no idea Ariana Grande had like acting chops like that. I
yeah,
was I was very surprised. I mean, I don't know, for anyone who's seen the movie, you know how she does it. Like, she plays a very specific part.
yeah,
Um, but I could tell, and we had this discussion about about a script that we worked on for, a friend. I could tell she understood her role,
yeah,
which added several layers of depth to the
yeah,
role.
yeah.
Where on the surface it could look very vapid, it could look very um flowery and very surface
Right,
level, and
right,
but she played it, but she knew the assignment,
right,
and she
right,
knew her role, and
right.
I ended up really liking the movie. I knew I would enjoy it. We are my family. For those of you who don't know, we are huge musical people, and in my family, like, we enjoy, like, my kids walk around the house singing show tunes. Whenever we have a karaoke night, inevitably something from Hamilton or some of the musicals that they've been that's
The
gonna come
Greatest
up.
Showman. They like The
Yeah.
Greatest Showman.
We haven't sung a Greatest Showman show yet, but
Marissa and the kids love The Greatest Showman. That's why
yeah,
they love Wicked, but they also love The Greatest
yeah,
Showman.
that's a good one. So we went in expecting to like it. We all did. I liked it more than I thought I was gonna like it. I did. I was actually moved by parts of it. I was
Yeah,
like, oh snap, they
yeah,
did the thing. Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's why I go to movies and I watch shows to get emotion. And so many things are entertaining, they're fun, but you don't feel it, right? And I
Right.
walked there like, oh snap! Like, I got to get it hit me in the emotions a little bit. Okay, all right. So
Yeah, it was good, man. It was good. We
yeah,
watched
that's
it. We
good.
watched it too, and they my sister took our oldest to a sing along show at a theater out
Oh
here.
yeah, I know
So it's
that's a
like the
thing.
people who went could sing and
Yep.
actually had permission to sing in the theater and
Right.
not
Yeah.
bug other people out. But yeah, I mean, they're all singing the songs and that one particular, I don't even know what it is that
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the song, but what's at the end, like the climax part.
Yeah, the
She's on,
defying gravity or
yeah, and
like,
she hits that note,
mhm,
that
yeah.
extended note or whatever. They're just walking around the house just doing it. And I'm just like,
So
all
I
right,
don't know.
they
So
love it.
good movie, good holiday movie of viewing experiences. I
Yeah,
still think that at some point we should do either an episode of this or like have a whole series where you just explain vampire stuff to me. I think that would be super entertaining.
I'm down, man. Whenever, however you
It's
want to do it,
just
man.
because I
I'm
don't know. I
down to
mean,
do
I've
the
seen
pod.
some of the movies, but I don't know, and I know the basics,
Yep.
but I would love to just be like, all right, tell me about like the take an aspect of vampire lore and just wash over. I want it to wash over me. Tell me everything
Right.
about it,
Break it down,
Break it
initiate me. Yeah.
baptize me in blood.
Yeah, man, we got to get it going. We'll do one
Yeah,
of those for
that would be
sure.
fun. That'd be
For
fun.
sure.
So, oh
Yeah,
man.
man.
Anyway, so we got a couple of things on the agenda today. We're
Yep.
gonna pick up where we left off at Project 365. We've been going through that. If you guys haven't caught the first few episodes, what episode is this? Are we on? Is this
6. I think this is
six?
episode 6. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So if you
Yeah.
haven't caught the first 5 episodes, we've been going through Project 365, which was our inaugural project that we started working on together when the creative it which one character every day for the entire year of 2016, hence 365 characters plus all the other characters that came with them. And we've just been going through the year talking about the stories, talking about coming up with the stories, talking
Hmm.
about the process of doing it. So we're going to continue that today, and then at the end we want to talk about a very special thing that we have coming up. So stay tuned for that. Uh so
Yeah. Well, so we left off with the Ghost Orphanage. We,
Ghost
just
Orphanage. Yes.
introduced that storyline, that story arc, and then got into more of the deeper philosophical origins of how you
Mhm.
came up with the name, the basis for the inspiration for the storyline, and all that. But
Mhm.
let's get into it because again, I'm gonna say this is one of my favorite story arcs. Was one of my favorite characters in all of Project 365.
It's crazy.
This is one that I want to watch
Mhm.
on the big screen, or I want to watch. I want to binge on Netflix or whatever. Like I want Ghost Orphanage content to view and sit back and enjoy. So that's how
Which is
much I love it. So, man, let's start with it, man.
yeah,
Let's start with the mythology of the Ghost
mythology.
Orphanage. Take it back, man.
So I'm
Take
gonna
it
I'm
back.
gonna take it back. I'm gonna try to keep this as concise as possible. Um base, but I've been pitching this for so long that I think I
Got
have
it.
Let's start from the beginning. Way back
Right.
in the day, in ancient times, there were these there was a general from an army. I want to say it was in Greece. It was in Europe somewhere where they were warring, there was a lot of war going on. The specific time period is not necessarily important. It was something that's kind of been flexible as we've developed the story over the years. Either way, a disgraced general was found. A disgraced general. He was kicked out of his unit for being a renegade. He goes into the desert. He finds this cave. He's on the brink of death. And when he finds this cave, he finds this pool of this substance, and it just happens to be demon's blood. So he takes it and he gets this idea to forge a blade bathed in this substance. And it just so happens that once he does that, this blade not only becomes this incredible instrument of destruction, but it imbues him with supernatural abilities as well. He finds 7 other people. He also gives them blades, and they come to be known as ghost blades. And basically the eight of them, they become known as the Sapphire Cult, and they wage war against the world pretty much. Like they just run through Europe and just
As
just
as people wielding swords that were made in demon's blood do.
yeah, as exactly. And the eight of them are just completely unstoppable. Like they're cutting down droves and droves, like armies. They're absolutely unstoppable. Finally, these seven holy warriors are bestowed with what's called living blades, and the living blades are more powerful than the ghost blades. And these seven holy warriors are finally able to slay the Sapphire Cult. They were called the Sapphire Cult. And so the only problem is, while yes, the Sapphire Cult has been defeated, however, everyone that was killed with a ghost blade, their soul was not able to go to heaven or hell. They were trapped in somewhat of a purgatory, but they were trapped on Earth. And these ghosts, began to float around Earth, and because they have no home in heaven, no home in hell, they became known as ghost orphans. And so now these ghost orphans have persisted over the centuries. These seven holy warriors continue to hunt them, and their bloodlines, the seven holy warriors, their bloodlines continue to hunt them. So like when the seven warriors died, the people who were born from them, they continue to hunt the ghost orphans. And the seven bloodlines became known as the seven houses of the Veil. They're called the Veil. So um, fast forward a few hundred years later, the ghost orphans decide the best way to hide from the Veil is to go in. The best way not only to hide from the Veil, but to also fight back is to go into human bodies. So they begin to possess people, so to speak, and hide inside of human shells. This allows the ghost orphans to take a physical form and to fight back physically, and they do. They end up waging war against the Veil. And I forgot to say um, the other role of the Veil with these living blades is that if they slay a ghost orphan with a living blade, that ghost orphan can finally go to heaven. Um, and so that's kind of, but however, the ghost orphans, now that they're in human form, they're finding all of the pleasures of humanity. Not only that, but they're immortal. Like they not mortal, because immortal means you can't die, but they can die. They just have infinite life. What's
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So not only are they enjoying the pleasures of the carnal pleasures of the flesh, they're enjoying it over and over and over and over again. Like they're just it's just it's just a party. It's an eternal party.
This hedonistic spiritual affair.
Absolutely. Um, and of course, but their presence, however, is bringing imbalance to the world, and so they have to be hunted down. And with the living blades, they can be hunted down and sent to heaven. However, once they're in their human form, they can fight back, and they begin to build their armies of their own, and they begin to hunt the hunters. They begin to hunt down the Veil members, and eventually they wipe out three of the seven bloodlines. They completely wipe them out. Like those bloodlines in. They kill everybody in those bloodlines. Fast forward to present day slash future, which is where our universe takes place. The war is still raging. The Veil has come to prominence. They are respected people in the community. They're very highly educated. They're wealthy, and they wage this underground war against these ghost orphans who it just exist all over the world in human form. Some of the ghost orphans are doing criminal stuff. Some of the ghost orphans are just living normal lives. Every time a ghost orphan's physical body dies, that ghost orphan spirit finds the nearest womb, as in the nearest pregnant woman, and they take and they get into that baby, and they're born ghost orphans, right? They already have these ghost orphans inside of them. The hitch to that is that that ghost orphan is living dormantly inside that fetus, then baby, then child. That that fetus or that sorry that ghost orphan is dormant inside that person doesn't know they have a ghost orphan inside them until their biological parents both die. Once their biological parents both die, the ghost orphan awakens inside of them, and all the memories from hundreds of years of being on Earth rush back into that person, and now they have all the memories of that previous life. Um, and so the ghost, the previous lives, the veil hunters are hunting them down because they're like, you don't belong here. We got to get rid of you. The ghost orphans are like, I don't want to go. I like it here. You're gonna have to, you're gonna have to catch me if you
Make
can.
me, make
You're
me
gonna
leave.
exactly. And like I said, it's also difficult because several of the ghost orphans are just living normal lives. They're like
Right.
you and me, like Chris and I could easily be ghost orphans and not know it, right? And so basically when they awaken, veil hunters have an innate ability to sense that they're around, and so they can hunt them down. However, it's again complicated by the fact that if they're in a crowded, they're in a crowded place and they sense that a ghost orphan is around, they don't know which one of these people are
Right.
actually ghost orphans. So they
Yeah.
just can't start slashing people down. They have to make sure,
Right.
plus they can't just do it in public anyway. So that becomes the secret war part of it.
Yeah.
Um, Along with that, the third element that's brought into it is that eventually another group of beings called reapers, they are hell spawns, they come from hell, and they have ghost blades, and their goal is to hunt down ghost orphans, and if you die by a ghost blade, then you go to hell. So you have living blades that send them to heaven,
Hmm.
ghost blades that send them to hell. The ghost orphans are trapped in the middle and are fighting both sides. They're fighting a war on two fronts. The veil hunters and the reapers, they're also fighting each other because they're fighting over these lost souls. And so it becomes this whole thing. And then there's further mythology that comes later down. I mean, we have like, if this was a show, we have like 7 seasons planned out for
Right.
it. But in Project 365, the part of the story that takes place follows the House of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of the bloodlines, and it's the most prominent bloodlines. The 7 bloodlines are named after, get a little bit into our religion, where um the religious foundations of this story is that the 7 bloodlines are named after the 7 churches in Revelation. And I won't get into all of it. You can go look it up. But basically, the writer of Revelation, Paul.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Thanks, right?
I think
Do some
that's right.
research
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah.
Check my when he was writing Revelation, he was writing a letter. He wrote letters to these churches about the end. It was the end times, and it was, hey, these 7 churches kind of represented the type of churches or the type of religious communities of that time, and they were churches in what's modern day Turkey and the surrounding area. Um, and basically, he said, "Hey, this church, like you used to be really strong in the faith, but you lost your way. This church, you were deceived by norm, right? You're like you got it, but you're not quite strong enough in the faith. You need to do better. This church, you're doing amazing. You're the best church ever. Like, so he had something to say, and it was encouragement as well as rebuking,
Yeah.
as well as instruction. All these different things. And so these 7 churches, basically the bloodlines are represented by these 7 churches, and what happens to the bloodlines kind of correlates with what the letter to these churches in Revelation said. Philadelphia being the church that needed the least amount of rebuking and correction, so that family becomes the most prominent family, while the 3 churches that had like the most rebuking that needed to be done to them, those actually ended up being the three bloodlines that get wiped out before we get to the present day. and and it was all through the different things that, I think one was hubris, one was lust. It was like,
Yeah.
these different elements. So our story follows Philadelphia, the House of Philadelphia, and they are the leaders of the Vale. They are the ones who hey, so speaking of the special thing that we have to talk about in later on in this episode, you guys are getting this in real time. We literally just got a text message about it from someone else who's involved in that project. So so yeah, so
Everything's
there's a text
lining up.
message about something that Chris and things are lining up. So this is a really exciting time for us.
Lining
But
up.
basically, it follows Peter Philadelphia, and
That
it,
guy.
it, it,
That
it,
dude,
it-
Peter
the
Philadelphia.
dude, he is the illest dude with a sword you've ever seen.
Ever.
He's just the man. And we have ideas of and our idea is that each house has a specific sword style. So Peter Philadelphia, the Philadelphia sword style, it's kind of like lightsabers and
Different
it's
lightsaber forms and
lightsaber
all that.
forms and so but we've taken it to a whole nother level.
And it's forbidden for, it's like an unwritten rule, right? For a house to utilize
To
the style of a
of
different
another
house,
house.
right?
Yep. Yep. So each house has their style, their tradition, their discipline, and you are only supposed to do your own. And it's almost like an innate ability that they have their own style. Like you have to, it's not just a matter of like, oh, I'm gonna learn another style. Like you have to like break a mold to learn
Right,
the
right. You got to embody it almost in order for,
your special. You get to like embody it. Yeah.
yeah,
So what makes Peter special is that he does that. Like he goes and learns the other styles. At this point, I think in the story it's kind of secret. Like he's not
yeah,
letting other people know, but it's a forbidden thing. He's also brash. He's confident. He is in line to take over the Vale, to be the leader of the Vale. His mom, currently the most respected, revered, and feared hunter alive, is ready to step down from her perch, and he's ready to take the mantle. However, they don't think he's ready. They don't think, like, the other Vale leaders don't think he's completely ready, because he's a hothead. His twin sister, she's much more measured. Uh,
hmm
she's
plays
so
it by the book,
plays it by the
knows
book.
the book inside and out,
Right,
all
right.
about tradition, all that. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. And she is chomping at the bit to say, like, hey, I can take over. Like, he's like, let me take over. He's not, but he's, it's kind of the almost like the prophecy thing or the lineage thing or the birthright thing,
yeah.
where it's like this, it's his role. Not to mention that he is the most skilled hunter, even some say surpassing his mother already, even
Yeah.
though he's not doesn't have the experience yet. So that's kind of like the undergirding of the story, the foundation of the story. As it takes place in Project 365, there is this Platinum City University. Several members of the Vale are teachers or professors at Platinum City University. It's kind of like their day job. They have high positions in a lot of places in society. It works as a cover story for them, as well as just allows them to be in different parts of the community so that they can hunt ghost orphans. um, and so there's this event happening at Platinum City where this crazy guy shows up and starts like spewing all types of prophecies about how, the fall, something's coming and there's going to be a
End of
fall
days and
and end of days. And I think the way we have it in there is that there's like it's going to be come in 7 days. And there's like, there's these people who are like marching around Platinum City
I think
University.
was it the 7 week walk or the seven
Yeah, it's
day
like the
walk?
7 week. It's like 7 week it was like
Yeah,
seven.
7 week
It was
walk. I
kind of
think it was.
yeah. It was inspired by like the walls of Jericho, where
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you got to march around. The army of the Lord has to march around, or the Israelites have to march around the city. Because they can't penetrate the wall, so you have to march around the city and then shout, and then the walls will fall.
Yeah.
And they're saying that this is going to happen at Platinum City University because there's, whoever is doing it, there's a prophecy that there's something in there. They're suggesting that the veil is like in there, and this is going to expose them and what they're
Hmm.
doing and how they're going around killing people. It's all getting all, muddled up. And so while this is happening, we get the different stories of the different Veil members. And throughout these, I think it was more than 30 days,
Yeah,
we
it was like two
yeah,
months
yeah,
almost.
we
Yeah.
see the Veil and their different stories, and they go on different hunts and they have different adventures. We meet several of the Ghost Orphans. We meet several of the Reapers, and we meet several of the other characters that are in and around their world. And so it was one of the, I think we mentioned this in the last episode, but literally these characters are the oldest characters as far as creation is. What I created these characters in like 2001. And
Let that be a note for all writers and creators out there. If you're watching this,
mhm.
20, what are we're
Woo,
working on it now. So what is
20 like
24,
23,
23
4
years
years.
that it's been on the shelf, and now we're bringing not on the shelf, but
Yeah, it's been
we jumped it off in 2016, right?
right. We jumped it off in 2016, and not only that. So, and we'll get to the next part of the story because that's when you bring in this element that just takes the whole thing to a whole other level. But not only that, but when we've been pitching our ideas to different studios and we've had some great conversations. I think we've mentioned this. We've had some great conversations. We had some traction in a few different places. We're talking, we're trying to make moves. And what happened with this one, we got into a great conversation with a production company that's under one of the big studios, and they really loved our stuff, and we were talking, and we just started talking to them about the different things we had and sending them stuff, and they were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, and we'd love to like work with you guys. So we started working with them, and lo and behold, when they said, okay, we have to pin down one of your stories
Mhm.
to kind of begin with, to take a little further, and they chose the Ghost Orphanage. And it was a crazy full circle moment because, like I said, is the like, when did you start creating characters? Like, oh, like when did you start writing your first book? It was like, oh,
2004,
okay.
I think.
So, all right. So
I think
2004.
I
So,
told you I started writing it by hand one
yeah.
summer when I was working on campus. Like
Okay.
writing a
That's
novel
right.
by hand is crazy work nowadays.
So,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
right.
yeah, I
That's
think it was then.
wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you sent me that 700-page behemoth. I was like, wait a minute. Hopefully you didn't write that by hand.
No, no, no. By then I was up to the times with
Out to the
technology. I was
type.
on a computer at that point.
But basically, yeah, it was the very first characters that either one of us created, and that
Mhm.
became the one that we actually ended up. We worked with this team for like a year, just like developing the story, and some of the things we even talked about just now weren't in the original Project 365 and wasn't in the original story that I created back in '01. It was stuff
Mhm.
that we worked with them and
Yeah.
developed more and created more and infused into the story, which was and it was amazing. It was one of those situations where you hear about, oh, the Hollywood people, they come in and they take your story and then they tear it apart, and that was not what happened with
No.
us. They came in and they helped us make it better. They
Yeah.
challenged us, they pushed us to be even more creative, and it's thanks to them that our story has even more depth and more elements than it did even when we were okay. So we had a great experience with them. Unfortunately, we were a victim of the writer's strike or the Hollywood strike in
The
general.
Hollywood strike.
The
Yeah.
writer's strike, the actor's strike. And we had to stop working with them when that happened because as writers, we could not cross the picket line. And then that lasted for what, 8 months? It felt it was almost
It
a
was a minute.
year.
Yeah, it was
And then
almost a
by the
year. Yeah, I
time
think.
Yep. And then by the time everything was back up and moving, they had new mandates. They had new,
Everything
they
changed.
had to cut down their slate of things they were working on. And unfortunately, we were one of the projects that were cut, but it happens.
It happens.
But the door is still open, and we're still in contact with them, and they've been really good to us. So it's just another opportunity. Yes, we're being vague on purpose. So if you're like sitting there, I was like, "Come on, who are you talking
Right?
about?"
Who
It's like,
was it? What was going on?
"Who was
Yeah,
it?" So, but the experience was worth talking about because it was a good experience.
yeah.
And then so that's where the story was going with the Ghost Orphanage within Project 365. And one of the arch nemesis, one of the greatest ghost orphans of all time, now exists in the form of a woman named Virginia Ice. Like, she's had several lifetimes, and right now she's
Ice
Virginia
Ice
Ice.
Baby.
And Virginia Ice is the wildest ghost orphan ever. Just absolutely crazy. This ghost orphan, she's existed in both men and women throughout the centuries, but she has just built like an empire over lifetimes. And like I said, whenever you die as a ghost orphan, if you're not killed by a ghost blade or a living blade, you reincarnate. And so you go into a fetus, and then you're born, and eventually you wake up and you can continue your life as a ghost orphan. She has been the best one at like connecting her lives. She has, like, before she dies, she sets herself up so that when she awakes, she goes right back into, so she never has to start over, like rebuilding her life or
Yeah,
rebuilding her empire. And several ghost orphans have done this, but she has done it
the best.
like way beyond. And not only that, but she's also, for example, another thing that she takes over the centuries is her fighting ability and her and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
So whenever you fight Virginia Ice, you're fighting someone who has learned, stuff over the centuries. You're fighting centuries worth of experience. So that
Hmm.
makes her a huge problem for the Veil, because when I talk about hunting the hunters, she is the most dangerous of them.
Yeah.
And what comes in to play with her is that she is responsible for the deaths of several hunters, including the husband of Disa Philadelphia, and who is also, of course, the father of Peter. I don't think I said Disa's name yet, but Disa Philadelphia is the mom who is in charge
Yeah.
the the Veil right now, and Peter and Valerie are her kids. And so Virginia Ice um, killed Disa's husband, aka Peter's dad, and Peter and Valerie's dad. And then when Disa was on the verge of catching Virginia Ice, or catching the ghost orphan who is Virginia Ice, she killed herself so that she could reincarnate instead of allowing a living blade. So now Disa has been waiting for years for that ghost orphan to reemerge, to reawaken, because she knows she's out there, or she knows this ghost orphan is out there, but she won't be able to find her until, again, this person's biological parents die. So then Virginia will wake up, and
Hmm.
then Disa will be able to hunt her. But until then, Disa is just waiting for her to wake up. So, which goes along with one of the reasons why Disa is stepping down. The revenge has overtaken her, and she's like, I need to just go and focus on finding this ghost orphan because it's overtaking me. So, Peter, it's time for you to take over. Peter's like, yeah, let's do it. And then Valerie's like, you're not ready. So that's the whole thing.
Hmm.
But Virginia Ice comes into play, because the lead Reaper is a character called Legion. Now, Legion is a name that's been used in
A bunch.
fiction and science fiction and comic books all throughout history, right? And we were like, yeah, like why? Like not only that, but it's also a biblical thing, right?
Right.
We are legion. The man who was possessed by thousands
Yeah.
of spirits.
Yep.
Um, and so Legion is the lead reaper. And Legion, I think, was it the fact that Legion was not on Earth yet? Like we get
So
so basically,
there was a plan, right? The
right.
master plan,
Yeah, there was a
which
master plan.
and we so
So
we
talk about the
called.
master plan, Chris.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So we came up with a way to integrate this mythology of the Age of Serpents, right? Where Legion, the general of Satan's armies in hell, was going to come to Earth and shut it down, right? He was going to come, he was going to collect souls, and then they were going to, build their army up, and then they were going to, try to go upstairs again, round two, right? So, so Legion's like, I bet this is what we're going to do. Instead of just taking over regular humans, what we're going to do is we're going to find humans who are possessed by the most powerful ghost orphans we can find on the planet. And then we're going to possess the ghost orphans who are possessing these humans, right? We're going to double up. We're going to double up on the powers here. And
Mm.
so there's four kings in certain Christian mythology. There's four kings of hell, right? Satan, obviously, on top, right? But then underneath them, maybe more so generals, the king of the north, the south, the east, and the west. They were supposed to reincarnate into these ghost orphans, and then they were going to set the stage for Legion to come. And when Legion emerges, he was going to go into none other than Virginia Ice, the most powerful ghost orphan out there. That happens, game over. It's a wrap. It's a
It's a
wrap. Hug your wife, kiss your kids, tuck them in because it's a wrap.
dark times. It's very dark times.
It's over after that. So there's all these occurrences of excuse me, of the Veil going out to hunt ghost orphans and things being way more difficult than they've ever been before. Ghost orphans being way more powerful than they've ever been before. And they can't figure out why. Well, in Project 365, they go on this particular mission to this house to go hunt this ghost orphan. It goes really bad, right? They don't know why. But up pops some assistance in the form of Seraph Solomon. So Seraph Solomon, I love the stories from like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the alternative gospels, I guess you can say, that weren't included in the Bible, that weren't considered canon by the Nicene Council and all that stuff. But in one of those books, they kind of detail King Solomon from the Bible and this a ring that he had made. And the ring is a conduit that allowed him, according to these texts, to have the control over demons. So he could conjure the demons and control the demons and make them do his bidding, right? Which I think is just a phenomenal story. Whether you believe it or not, you can't argue that that's not a phenomenal story. So we use that as inspiration and created the Seraph Solomon character. And this is a creature, not a creature, an entity that whenever there is high demonic activity on Earth, Seraph Solomon reincarnates into a human that he selects or that the entity selects. This time he chose a gentleman from the Middle East, reincarnates, immediately knows the mission. He has a supernatural whip that is made out of the Shroud of Turin, so it adds that additional holy power to it. It's kind of like if you combine Trevor Belmont's whip from Castlevania with Indiana Jones' his whip. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got that kind of power. So Sarah Solomon shows up in Platinum City because that's where the demonic activity is. He links up with the Veil, explains who he is, what he's about, and now it starts to click, right? That's what's going on. The ghost orphans are being possessed by these powerful demons. There's something coming. What's coming? They don't know what's coming, right? So they're working in tandem to try to figure this out. It all leads down to this massive battle. This massive battle at a cathedral in Platinum City where Peter, Disa, Valerie, Solomon, and other Veil hunters find themselves in a battle royale against an army of priests and an archbishop who are all not only ghost orphans but are also possessed by demons and had infiltrated the Catholic Church. So it all comes to a head, right? Crazy all-out battle. The heroes prevail. Spoiler, but the heroes prevail. But Sarah Solomon is still there. And he's like, I shouldn't still be here. When my job is done, I get called home. Why am I still here? So they go to regroup. Sarah Solomon picks up the bat phone, if I can use that term. calls home for some additional help. Recharges. Then he picks up the presence of an angel called Bath Cole. So Bath Cole comes down to Earth, takes human form, and Sarah Solomon and the Philadelphia family are like, all right, we'll go find her, we'll talk to her, she should have the answers. However, just like when demons come to Earth, it triggers Sarah Solomon. Bath Cole coming to Earth is now triggering Reapers to come to Earth too, to hunt her down and to kill her. She only has a limited amount of time here on the planet, so it's a race against the clock. Can they find her before the Reapers and the demon army do? They end up finding her. Demons are hot in pursuit. They're on their way. Bath Cole ends up giving them all the information. She essentially confirms the Age of Serpents is at hand. Legion is coming. The stage is already set. He's going after Virginia. Y'all got to do what y'all got to do. I'm out. Peace. Because she knows if she gets captured by the Reapers, they're taking her to hell to torture her for eternity, and she ain't about that life, so she's out, right? So she goes back to heaven. They fight off the Reapers and the demons. Now it's the final showdown. Sarah Solomon, all of the Veil, against Virginia Ice, Legion looking to get, to possess Virginia Ice, and all the Reapers are there now with the ghost orphans that Virginia Ice has brought in, and another massive battle royale happens for the fate of the world.
They're trying to open Legion's gate.
They're trying to open Legion's gate so Legion can possess Virginia. And spoiler, he does. Legion does possess Virginia Ice, and she becomes Virginia Ice, Legion's gate, the ultimate ghost orphan demonic entity. But other things. There's other elements to this story that come into play here at the very end. Everything gets built up and then gets worked out in incredible fashion, as Creative Extreme tends to do.
How we do
stories. But that's where the Age of Serpents kind of comes into play. And along the way you meet the different archdemons or the different kings of the different areas of hell, and them manifesting, and then Solomon and the Veil members having to go hunt that person down, go hunt this person down. And so there's a lot going on back and forth, but it's really a race to try to figure out how do we stop this end of times, demonic surge, and how do we then, once we figure it out, then how do we stop it? What do we got to do to stop it?
Right.
And man, it was so much fun.
It was a ton of fun.
It was so crazy, and it was just like I said, man. The characters, the lore, the mythology. Like if you take out Ghost Orphanage and just put everything else up on the shelf, right? Ghost Orphanage in and of itself is, you could sit back and say this, you develop it, right? You write the novels, or you write the comic books, or you make the TV show, or you do the film series, whatever. You could sit back and just be like, yo, I had a phenomenal career.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I did the Ghost Orphanage. Yeah. I had a phenomenal career, and nobody could argue, because it's that to me, it's that phenomenal. There's so many different layers. The characters are so well fleshed out.
We went in on that one, man. Like, I mean, I bought the ingredients to the table, but then when we started to cook together, yeah,
man, Iron Chef style, baby. You know what I'm saying? We got all the ingredients and put them together, dude.
Yeah. So, man,
and it's one of those things where it's like, and I know we're really close to it, so we get excited. Right? We get excited about it. And we've talked about it before. I sit back, man. I could see millions of people cosplaying here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Virginia Ice.
Yeah, man.
Solomon. The House Philadelphia. You have groups of friends coming to cons as either House Philadelphia or House Smyrna or how to see ya, or any of, you know what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah.
they all got their specific looks. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And then there's going to be the debates about which style, whose house has the best style, and
Best
which one
style,
could
yeah.
dominate which one, and blah blah blah
Oh,
blah.
there's so
So
much.
there's so much for the readers to sink their
Yeah.
teeth into and
And
then
like
to run away
and
with.
and then even with the whole thing with Peter, when he starts doing like the dead styles too, like the styles, like the dead styles, it's like, dude,
He starts doing the dead styles. Come on, man. Come
yeah,
on, man. Come on. That's Shaolin versus Wu Tang
yeah,
infused
man.
into Avengers, infused into, you know what I'm saying, John Wick style action with swords. It's just, man,
It'd
there's
be
so
so
many
much fun.
elements to it,
So
dude.
yeah, man. But so that's the Ghost Orphanage slash Serpents,
Age of
Age of
Serpents.
Serpents slash Legion's Gate saga. That was, like we said, it took like, I mean, and we really, as much as we just talked like 40 minutes and we still only scratched the surface. Like,
There's so
yeah,
many characters, like you
yeah,
said,
we
because
like yada 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 it. We were like,
Veil members,
so
Reapers, Ghost
Reapers.
Orphans. I
Remember
mean,
there's the Veil Kids. Remember that there's the Veil Kids go
come
on
on, man.
adventures.
Yo, Nick
So
Jr.,
yeah,
Nickelodeon,
uh,
Cartoon Network. Yo, hit
uh,
us up. If you want a
yeah.
kid show, we got a
Come
kid
on,
show for you, yo.
we got it, we got it.
Veil
So
Kids.
yeah, and I don't even know, I don't even what comes after that. I know we get mixed into.
So yeah, so after that, and we can't get
We'll
into
get
it.
a quick little preview,
A
little
little
preview.
little preview. So after that, we go back. We're in Platinum City. We branch out into Platinum City, and we start getting into kind of some of the criminal overlords of
Hmm.
Platinum City.
Yeah,
Daiichi Matsuzaki, right, who's arch villain of Iori Miyamoto, aka Musashi, the New Japan samurai savior. Um, we get into Luca Bandoni, who's
right.
the
Yeah.
Italian, you know what I'm saying, mob boss of all of Platinum City. We get into, and then his crew. What was his name? Jupiter Brigante,
Hmm.
the human Hulk, who is Luca Bandoni's number one hitman slash bodyguard slash muscle guy. And then we get into a character called Confidential. It's
Hmm.
kind of the bridge between the Ghost Orphanage story and the I guess you could say the catalyst event or the cataclysmic event that launches us into the next story, which is the Alpha Initiative.
Yeah.
And so we
Yes.
meet
Yeah.
the members of the Alpha Initiative that we haven't met yet.
Hmm.
Orenda, who is a Native American character from one of the old tribes of Northeast America, North America. Oh God, the name of the tribe is slipping my mind right now. This is terrible.
Um,
Um,
as a
I can't
um,
remember,
we'll
but
have it for next episode.
we'll have it for next episode. Promise. But we meet Orenda. Her power is she's able to control matter at an atomic level, but in a very limited way, because we understand that that individual power could be extremely OP.
Yeah. So
We're
yeah.
talking Dr. Manhattan. We're talking,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That cosmic kind of entity level. So we didn't give her that range of power. But what she's able to do is she's able to tap into matter at an atomic level and generate a concussive burst, right? So she's able to use that obviously in combat. And her story, from a very high level, is she is the chosen one. She's the one that the tribe's prophecy has been talking about for hundreds, thousands of years. And when she was born to help save the world, and she was born just in time because this is when she's needed the most. Then we get into Encore. Encore is a childhood friend of Lieutenant General Richard Bonds, as we all know, one of the main heroes of our universe. And they grew up together in Chicago. While Lou decided to go join the military and try to clean up the streets and the inner cities by taking out the terrorists and the mercenaries who are flooding the streets with guns and everything like that. She decides to go the other route, and she decides to make a fortune in the criminal underworld of Chicago. Ends up becoming a major threat or competition to Edgar Lockhart, another one of our massive villains in our universe. Um, but when push came to shove and Lou knew what was coming, he reached out to his old friend. She has an ability where she is able to essentially teleport herself or transport herself from spot to spot instantly. She's very adept with knives, martial arts. She can get busy, but he convinces her to join. And then the other members of the Alpha Initiative, we all know Liberty Star, leader of the City Watch. Um, Musashi is in the group. Interface from the Iga clan is in the group. Brolic from the cop duo Ox and Brolic, the Platinum City Police, he's in the group, and they come together to form this elite unit, the Alpha Initiative, so they can go and take on this impending doom that's coming from the other side of the universe. And yeah, man. So that's the next
yeah, that's
major
the next.
storyline we're getting
Yeah,
to.
so we'll get into that. And there's a, yeah, like you said, there's a few. There's a few. There's some bridge characters. There's some
Yeah,
bridge stories in there that lead into the next saga, which was one of the fun things about doing this, where we would have these major sagas, and then we'd be like, how do we, connect them? We didn't want it to be something where they were all so interconnected that you needed to, like we wanted several of these sagas to be able to stand on their own.
right.
But at the same time, we did still want to bridge them a little bit. So we had fun coming up with these little small sagas between our big sagas that touched on things, that brought new perspective to things. Project 365 was a blast, man. I can't
Uh-huh.
wait to do.
It
Can't
was
wait to do
incredible.
Project 65 Part 2.
It's a writer's dream. It was a
Yeah,
writer's
just
dream,
just get to
man.
play. It's a playground. You get to
Yeah.
play. I like the fact that it was low pressure on us because we
Mhm.
were doing it essentially for fun.
Yeah.
Of course, we had big aspirations the whole time, but we really wanted to just have this playground and take all these elements of different things that we love. I mean, we were inspired by so many things, and basically, it was the idea: how do we do that rather than, like I would say to you, it's like I don't like necessarily like critiquing, other creatives, right?
Right.
They're a lot of them are trying. We can talk about how non-creatives get involved in the creative process and muddle everything up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But whenever somebody says, "Oh, if I was telling that story, I would have done this," my first response is, "Do it. Like, you go write the story." Like, if you have this great idea for how you would want to change that, you can even like I mean, that's one of the reasons everyone has their different opinions. I'm sure we've touched on this several times. Everyone has their different opinions about fan fiction.
Yeah.
And some people think it's a great thing, it's amazing thing. Some people think it's hackery and come up with your own ideas. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know if you people know this, but when someone gets hired to write on a television show, they're practically writing fan fiction. Someone has created some characters and they're hired to tell stories with someone else's characters.
Yeah.
It's literally how a lot of writing jobs work. And so
Hmm.
the idea that so fan fiction is actually great practice, especially if you're an aspiring writer. If you're an aspiring writer or creative, and people who draw will tell you the same thing. They'll say, "Hey, when I started learning how to draw, I was copying and mimicking other great artists who I admired." And
Yeah.
then I began to develop my own style. And that's what we did. Like we looked at around everything every time we would see, like Chris and I would talk, it's like, "Man, did you see that new big budget movie?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, I didn't like this about it. I wish they would have done this." And I was like, "Chris, write it." And then Chris was like, "Okay." And then he just began writing it. And then
Yeah.
we take that basis, and then we begin to add our own elements to it. And by the time we start to change things and develop our own thing, it's a whole new story,
Yeah.
But every story is inspired by other stories. Every story is, and art mimics life and all that good stuff. So
Hmm.
doing Project 365 just gave us that opportunity to just have our own playground and take all the ideas that we want to tell Marvel to do and DC to do and Star Wars
Right.
to do. And it was like, let's do them ourselves. And,
Hmm.
became a thing. And so it's good. I personally think, outside of, yeah, we could say that big budget movies aren't what they were, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like not all of them are like hitting, and there's a lot of producing content rather than art. It's,
Yeah.
like that's kind of like what's going on in some places, right? It's like let's just get as much stuff out there as possible, and
Right.
creatives aren't necessarily getting enough time to really, really dive in as much. It's like, well, we got to get this out there so that we can hit a date, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's a very, very basic way to say that getting stuff out there is very hard and complicated. And the overwhelming majority of the time people are trying their best. So
Right.
when you see something, you're like, oh man, they really messed that up. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't always intentional. Like they were trying to make something, and you don't know the amount of things that go behind the scenes that
Yeah.
make things difficult to do.
Right.
um but basically that's what it is. If you're ever like, if you're an aspiring writer or an aspiring creative, man, take the things you love and write about that stuff. Like that's a great way to get practice. That's a
Hmm.
great way to begin. I'm not saying that it's gonna, like, I'm not saying take that stuff and try to sell it. No, 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 you can't do that. That's someone else's stuff. That's someone else's IP. That's someone else's intellectual property. But it can help you as far as developing your skills,
Yeah.
your voice, being able to take elements that exist and add your own twist to it. That's great practice if you're
Hmm.
right. I have several proteges who that is, what I tell them all the time. Hey, it's like, tell me about a show that you like. All right. What would, if you could tell a story with those characters, what would it be?
Yeah.
Do that. you
Yeah.
know? And it's a great exercise. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that was fun. But I think we're running up against our
Yeah.
our hour that we try to keep these to, but we like to talk. But we have some incredible news,
Yeah.
uh, that we shot a film. We were approached. I won't tell you the whole. We could have a whole episode telling the entire story, but
Right.
basically, we have a friend who we met through going to Comic Cons, and he is a producer. And he has different connections for a lot of different reasons with different people in the film industry, and especially in the world of stunts. And so he and some of his stunt friends, and one very in particular stunt friend who is one of the top stunt choreographers in the world. The two of them, like if you're watching this, you've seen stuff that this guy has done. Like he's worked on anything you can think of that has fighting in it. He's him or some of his people have probably had a hand in it. Like
Yeah.
literally, it's not an exaggeration. And so the two of them got together and they wanted to direct a short film where he could like really just let his fighting choreography go crazy. They approached a few different companies about using their stories to do it. They
They were
didn't.
hemming and hawing and
They were hemming and hawing. They were
yeah.
kind of like, maybe, etc. And finally, not finally, it wasn't like they took a long time. Basically, our producer friend was like, hey, I got some guys who have some stories. Let's talk to them. And so it came to us, and you guys, if you've been to our website, and if you haven't been to our website, go to our website. There is a trailer on our website for a short film called Alpha Initiative Zero. And
Hmm.
that was the trailer. We released that a few months ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had it out there. And we just got the date for the live premiere of the short film that's happening in SoCal later this month, for Alpha Initiative Zero. And uh, we
Yeah.
want everybody to come. If you're watching this and you live in California and you want to come, let us know. Or if you want to travel to California, let us know. But yes, we will be doing a premiere, Alpha Initiative Zero. Chris was talking about how Ghost Orphanage, one of my babies, one of his favorite stories. Alpha Initiative Zero is Chris's baby. And I love where it has gone. I love where it's
Yeah.
going. Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, the team, look, Steph and I create the characters, we write the stories, we have the vision, we created the world, the multiverse, everything, right? But this whole project, I mean, when they came to us and said, hey, can we use the Alpha Initiative Zero characters in the story, it was a no brainer. We were like, hell yeah. And then just from that point on, it's just been nothing but like, every time we would see a glimpse or we would get a piece, we're like, oh my God, this is incredible. Oh my God, this is incredible, right? And we were just waiting for the finished project. And now that it's finished, and I've probably watched it over a dozen times. I know you probably
Yeah,
have too
at least.
yourself, dude. It's just a remarkable work, and you have to give all the credit to the team. The
Mhm.
guys who were the crew, from the director to our partner, or the producer, the EP on it, to the actors, to the crew, the lighting people, the sound people, the staging people, the editing people, the visual effects people. Like everybody involved did the damn thing, and we're so excited to share it with everybody, for everybody to check it out. We really feel like if they didn't know us then, they're gonna know us now. You know what I'm saying? You can't deny this. And again, just all the credit to everybody involved that all bring it to life. And to see our characters, to see our stories, come to life on the screen,
Yeah.
like in this way, it's something else, man. Because you
Yeah.
work so hard for it, and when it finally happens, you never you can picture it in your mind, but you can't ever really conceptualize how you're gonna feel. You know what I'm saying? And I know how we felt, because I think for the first like 5 minutes of the call that we had when it first dropped, when we first found out, it was just like,
Yeah.
yo,
Oh.
that old Budweiser commercial, it was just, yo, for like 5 minutes, because
Yeah.
we were so floored by it. But man, yeah, we're excited. So it's going
Yeah.
down, yo. Alpha Initiative Zero is
Down,
coming.
and it's good too. Just like we were saying, it takes a lot to get anything made, and it takes even more when it's done well. And like we were
Hmm.
so impressed by how they took our vision, because there's always that nervousness. It's like, oh man, I mean, we know these guys do good work, but will they see it the
Yeah,
way, these guys and gals? It was, yeah,
right.
but will they see it, and will they be able to bring it to life in a way that like it speaks to us, and we're not saying like, oh yeah, that's our characters, we see what they tried, but it doesn't quite catch the essence of it. I mean, it's cool, and
Yeah,
somehow, like, I mean, they saw what we saw.
yeah, yeah. They
And
see the
even the
vision.
little, yeah, and even the little things that was like, oh, like that's kind of a different, way to look at the particular lore of this specific thing. But you
Yeah,
know what? Yeah, it's
yeah,
working. Like
yeah.
they
But a big part of being successful in this game is to be a good partner, to be
collaboration,
agile, to be
partnership. Yep.
flexible, and to be willing to make adjustments. And I mean, how many writers, how many creators out there are like, no, this is it. Oh no, no, the character would never say that. The character would never do that. Oh no, that's not how it was written. Da, da, da. And then the next thing you know, it's either not happening, or it's just not as good of a project as it could have been if you would have came to the table with a more collaborative
Mhm.
approach. You know,
Yeah.
and again, credit to the EP and the producer and the director and everybody who worked on it, because they were phenomenal partners and collaborators. We came in with a collaborative approach because we want to be great partners, and I think with everybody being on that same page, we got a
Got
phenomenal
a great
project.
product. So we're actually gonna do. So we're having a live premiere. Is gonna be in California on the 25th, right? It's the
Mhm.
25th. But we are also doing a virtual premiere. So if you're interested, and that's going to happen next weekend, or this weekend coming, I guess.
Yeah,
If you are watching this and you're interested in checking it out, drop us a message to our Instagram, or
TikTok, Facebook,
yeah,
what?
Facebook. Just drop
Yeah,
us a message. We'll see it, and we'll send you the link and the time, and you can join us as we share a virtual premiere, as we share the film with some friends and family and some honored guests. And
yeah,
so you're
man.
gonna, and so it's been yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. So we're excited about that. Again, man, we got so much more coming in
yeah,
2025. It's going to be crazy. But another thing that's definitely coming is going to be episode 7 of the Abbott
episodes.
and the Artista. We're going to get into things in more depth with Project 365. Thanks for joining. Again, Creative Extreme. Search us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Check out our YouTube channel, our website, www.thecreativeextreme.com. As Steph says, make sure all the E's are in there. All the E's are a part of it. And yeah, check us out. But, again, I'm Christopher Ickpo, a.k.a. The Artista with.
And Stefan Thomas, aka the Abbott.
All right, y'all. Till next time. Take it easy.
Peace.